So what else is out?
So let's do Catfight, which is a very strange film indeed, written and directed by Anna Turkel. It begins with Sandra Oh as a woman who is described as the trophy wife of a businessman. The film is set it's either in the present or an imaginary near future, and it's in which what we learn about what's going on in the world is through a satirical television show that's kind of like, Saturday Night Live or something like that, in which somebody comes on and does a satirical monologue about what's going on in the world, namely that there is a war brewing in the Middle East that a country's about to be involved in, but then interspersed with flatulence jokes. So anyway, she is married to a businessman who is about to land a contract which will make him clean up by cleaning up after the war, which is about to happen. Her son is an artist, and she tells him, firstly, art isn't a real thing. And secondly, she says, you can be anything you want, just don't be this. She goes to a reception where she has a few drinks, and she goes to the bar, and behind the bar, she meets Anne Heche's Ashley, who is somebody that she clearly knew a long time ago when they were in education, and clearly they were friends, and then they fell out. Ashley is an artist, but is now working behind a bar. So they have a very sort of brittle conversation with each other about, what are you doing? And she says, are you still doing that art thing that you do? And Heche's going, he says, yes, I am still doing that art thing that you do. What are you doing? The next thing you know, all this broiling tension between them is happening out in the corridor and is turning physical.
God, watch it.
You watch it.
What are you doing?
You do it. Why are you standing in the middle of the
I'm
stairwell?
just standing here.
Oh my God, are you smoking pot? Oh, you're pathetic.
Oh my God.
You're pathetic. What are you? You're a caterer, Ashley.
You're a trophy wife, Veronica.
I am a mother.
Oh man, I feel sorry for your kid. Oh God.
That's a proper fight, that is.
Yeah, that is. And that is just one of, I think it's 3, maybe 4 proper fight sequences in which you get the full, Jackie Chan punching sounds. Every time, a punch lands, you get that boom sound. And the first time you see it, it's quite remarkable because it is very kind of, there was a couple of reviews saying the fight is very realistic. It's absolutely not very realistic. It's very physical, but it's absolutely not realistic. It's from it's using stuff. That's not what fights sound like in the real world. Fights, as everyone know in the real world, last about 3 seconds. And they usually consist of the first person punching the other person, and that's the end of that, which is why the whole idea of movie fights in which people bounce off walls and up and things is complete nonsense. That doesn't happen in the real world. However, they have this massive fight. And at the end of it, Anne Heche's character walks off, at which point Sandra Oh's character gets up and then falls downstairs and knocks herself unconscious and wakes up 2 years later, having been in a coma, and her entire life has completely fallen apart. She has lost absolutely everything. Meanwhile, Anne Heche's character, who does these incredibly sort of aggressive, violent paintings full of red, has done very well for herself because the war has happened and suddenly the world is interested in all these things. So there's a reversal of fortune thing, that one of them has gone from being, very, very successful and the other one being unsuccessful, and the reverse. And then during the course of the movie, these roles reverse and mirror in very sardonic and very sort of sarcastic and satirical fashion. Meanwhile, as I said, burbling on in the background is this weird stuff about, what's going on with the country. And again, a movie that was made obviously before the election result. There's one moment in which Sandra Oh has to go and stay with her mad aunt who talks to trees, and her aunt is introducing her to all the trees, and she says, that one over there is Hillary, she's good but untrustworthy. That's Donald, and then says something very rude. So all that stuff is going, again, sort of made more pertinent by what's actually happened since then. It's a very odd film, and you spend a lot of it.
It's sounding that way.
It's a very odd film, and you do spend segments of it attempting to kind of get a handle on it. But actually, as a sort of weird, unruly, and odd little indie satire, it worked rather well, not least because I very much like both Sandra Oh and Anne Heche in this film. They give terrific performances. Alicia Silverstone is Anne Heche's partner, with whom she's trying to have a baby.
We haven't heard from her for a while.
And not on screen, but I think she's done a lot of stuff. I think she's done a lot of stuff behind the screen. I think at one point she had her own production company. Correct me if I'm wrong in thinking that. I think she's somebody who's very into driving her own projects. And anyway, so the performances are, very strong, very out there, very full on, that kind of bitter satire thing works very well. There's one moment in it in which Anne Heche is walking in the street wearing a sort of baggy overcoat and a grey hat. And I thought, if they ever make a remake of The Man Who Fell to Earth, they have to get Anne Heche to play the David Bowie role, because she absolutely, people were saying for ages that Tilda Swinton
very much
should play Bowie in a thing. Well, Anne Heche, even more so, looks exactly like. So it's a very odd film. There's a very sort of funny and wry use of classical music. I think some people in the screening that I were in were put off by the level of the fighty, smashy, thumpy, bashy stuff that was going on. But I sort of went with, because the film is satirical, because there's a number of repeated jokes about, that when she wakes up and the doctor says, "I'm the comatose doctor." She says, "Pardon?" He said, "I'm the comatose doctor." "Pardon?" "I'm the doctor who deals with comatose patients." And that is a joke which is reeled out and time again, as is the flatulence joke. But it worked for me in a strange and sort of, if it's something that you'd seen on video late one night, you would have thought this is really remarkable. As it is, it may find it hard to find its audience, but I think it has genuine cult potential.